So when people think of 3DS, they often think about fraud prevention. But what really pushed 3DS into the spotlight wasn't just fraud, it was regulation. In this video, we will unpack how this regulation, especially from a Europe standpoint, made the 3DS framework mandatory in some places. In Europe, the big shift really came with PSD2. PSD2 stands for Payment Service Directive, and it's an enforcement that's been implemented in Europe under the Strong Customer Authentication framework, or sometimes acronized as SCA. Since 2021, essentially merchants need to prove not just that the card is valid, but they need to essentially verify that the cardholder that is making the transaction has authorized that transaction. Effectively, they need to perform two-factor of authentication. We discussed in the previous video what those factors are, what the cardholder is, what they have, what they know. 3DS essentially became by default the way to deliver that authentication within the framework of that regulation. What is less talked about is how this really changed the role of the different stakeholders in the ecosystem. Essentially, the concept of a liability shift is really key on the 3DS. With the liability shift being introduced as a key component under the SCA program, it essentially shifts the program from being purely a prevention tool to becoming a compliance mechanism. Let's talk practically. If you're a European merchant and you are enforcing 3DS through a qualifying transaction, you are not just bypassing the risk, you are essentially complying with the regulatory guidance. If a fraud happens on that transaction, you will get complete liability shift in terms of the fees associated with that transaction and any dispute resulting out of this. Outside of Europe, it's a different story.